Namaskar and very good afternoon, viewers. I, Dr. Renu Tomar, welcome you back on the interesting topic that is gender and education. Friends, in our previous lecture, I tried to understand as well as try to explain to you that what is the difference between sex, sexuality, gender, and what are the reasons for the gender bias in our society. On the basis, we also try to understand what gender role is or gender identity is. Now let us try to understand gender stereotyping. Gender stereotyping, as the word itself connotes, it is something which is part and parcel of the society. It is not defined by the behavior. Gender role, when it is being defined by the beliefs and attitudes which is there of the society at large, then we say it is gender stereotyping. That means the gender roles which are defined by behavior, but gender stereotyping, the difference between the two we have to understand. Gender roles are defined by the behavior, but gender stereotyping are beliefs and attitudes about masculinity and femininity. From this definition, what we understand is that gender stereotyping is the belief which exists in the society, and it has got an impact upon the individual as the individual is staying in that community and society. But it is different from the gender role or gender identity as it is felt by the individual, because it has, as far as gender role and gender identity is concerned, that has the impact from the internal variables of the individual as well. Gender stereotyping is very influential. It affects the conceptualization of the woman as well as man, and it is as per the established social categories of genders. For example, women are supposed to cook. Man is supposed to go and work and earn for the families. These categories are decided on the basis of description how people think about women and men. So we have to understand that these description, what men and women should be, what they should be wearing, what they should be doing, how they should be acting, how they should be walking, these are decided by the beliefs which are very, very powerful forces, and these beliefs are existing in the society, and these beliefs are taken by the individual as for the judgment of oneself as well as other. For example, generally girls would say, if there is some girl who is like tomboy, who likes to dress up as a boy, the group of girls would be looking at her in different manner, as well as the boys would also be saying that she is not girlish. So, and there is something wrong with her. If this is how the group is perceiving, that means that the group is standing for gender stereotyping, because they are perceiving that individual as per the traits and behavior which are allowed in the society. So, the history, the structure, the function of stereotypes, they are very important for understanding the impact of gender on people's life. That means the history of every culture as well as the community and the country and the structure of that society does have an impact. In the patriarchal society, we would see that gender stereotype expect the girls to behave in one manner. In matriarchal society, there would be some kind of a freedom. In fact, there is negative as well as positive gender stereotyping. Negative gender stereotyping endorse systematically robbing of women of the confidence to think and learn, because she is not allowed to experiment and she is not allowed to think of herself as an individual. They are subsequently paralyzed by their own low self-image. It is said that the women do 3/5 of the world's work. Now let us try to understand that how gender stereotyping have an impact on the woman. Are the women working? Yes. Are the women contributing in the development of the nation? Definitely, this is a very important question to ponder on. Why is it happening that the women do 3/5 of the world's work, yet earn 1/10 of the world's income and own 1/100th of the world's asset? This is because of the gender stereotype, because the kind of a work in which women are engaged, which is especially in the home or in the informal sector, that is the farming and all, that is not visible to the world, that is rather invisible, and as a result their contribution is not visible in national statistics. They are denied access to the information and they are alienated from the decision making processes. Even when they relate to the government schemes, they do so as a passive recipients, victimized by age-old belief that purports to address their health, education and employment needs. An example for that is that the Constitution and the nation has provided the women to express their identity in the parliament in a way that the women have been given they are given the right to become panchayat, and there are certain seats also which are blocked for the women. That means on those seats only women candidates are going to be there. But what is happening? In the rural area, it was done so that women will become free from the gender stereotyping. But what is happening? The women candidates who are coming and becoming sarpanch, they are hardly aware of their roles. They are hardly going to any meetings. In fact, they are being represented by their in-laws, father-in-law, brother-in-law or their husbands. So, in fact, the women, despite the fact that they are being provided certain strength by the Constitution or by the nation, that is not being utilized by them. Why is it so? One, this is due to the fact that the woman has accepted themselves as someone who is lower and someone who are not capable of making any decisions, and that is why they can be easily subdued, and because they have accepted themselves in that subjugated role, the result is that they can be easily victimized. Another reason is the lack of education, because the women are not so much educated. They don't see the world because they are not educated. So it is very much important that gender stereotyping has to be understood, and only then the policies have to have an impact, or they are to be provided to them so that they can have the maximum benefit of it. As far as gender stereotyping is concerned, it can have the 4 separate components which people use to differentiate men from the woman. Physical characteristics. Physical characteristics means that the women are weaker as far as physical strength is concerned in comparison to the men. Second is traits. What kind of a behavior woman is expected to have, what kind of traits should women have, and what kind of occupation is accepted by the society as far as women have. So, gender stereotyping has to be understood at the level of physical characteristic, traits, behavior and occupation, and they are the 4 components which come together to provide the gender stereotyping to certain society, and each aspect may vary independently. That is, people make judgment based upon one information or the another. In fact, it is seen that as far as the deductions are concerned, gender related characteristics are concerned, that is based upon the information which is available. And how does information is passed down to the individual? The information is being passed down in the form of belief, in the form of norms, in the form of understanding. So, as far as act of stereotyping is concerned, it is deeply rooted in our veins. And no matter how much we understand it and try to avoid it, we end up unconsciously categorizing. Just to give you an example, there was a research which was conducted, and boys and girls were asked to understand and explain in yes or no, are girls also capable of doing good in maths? Most of the people answered it with yes. This is stereotyping, because this means that the girls individually are here are being compared to the boys as far as mathematics is concerned, because in this sentence it is accepted that they are usually the boys who are very good at maths, but yes, girls can also do well. So this is the kind of a gender stereotyping, and we have to understand, as far as the norms of gender stereotyping is concerned, women are supposed to be interested in certain fields only, which are deemed as feminine, like stitching, like cooking. These are the things which are given to the woman, keeping in mind that they are the one who have to parent the children. The responsibility for the children is basically for both the parents, but it is still mostly of the woman, and mostly can be 90% as well as 99% also. So males are supposed to be interested in only male things. And what is the notion of assigning a gender interest to certain play object or a career field? This is that the boy should be doing engineering and the girl should be becoming doctor or nurses. So this is gender stereotyping. Whenever there are girls who try to break stereotype, it's very difficult for them, and because usually the society categorize subjects also on the basis of person's sex, and this is very much prevalent in our education system. As we said that the boys are meant for engineering and the girls are meant for the medical. This is something which was taught 20-25 years back. Now the things have changed. Now it is seen that the area of interest is being decided by the interest of the person, and that is being decided by the behavioral aspect or the psychology of the aspect, and for that we usually want to go for even the testing the aptitude, attitude of the child and the interest of the child, as to come to the conclusion that whether the child is meant for the medical, or the child is meant for the engineering, or the child is meant for the architecture, or the child is simply meant for the drawing. But this is not how the most of the India sees boys and girls. This rationale which we are talking about, this rationale is very much prevalent in the urban, and even in the urban we would say it is more prevalent in metros. But if we talk about the India, which is 70% of it, which is there in the rural India or the small towns, that still sees girls as being appropriate for certain learning, and the boys are for certain other learning. So gender stereotyping is something which is very much prevalent in the society, and unknowingly people keep on using them even in their conversation. For example, we say girls means you should be submissive, you should be shy, you should be obedient, and girls should not be talking much. This is usually a statement which is spoken by us, that girls should not be expressing their mind, and this is not a desirable feminine attribute, that girls should be expressing their feelings, girls should be expressing their thoughts. So in fact, gender stereotype is reflected in day-to-day living as well, even in the thinking of masculinity and femininity. When we talk about the gender roles or attitude which is held by both young men and women, that for example, if a woman wants to go out at night, she has to seek permission from the parent, then husband, and even in-laws. As far as the boy is concerned, he is only supposed to inform, because boys are justified in going out, and because they are men, and they are the one who have to go out and earn for the family. In fact, even in the families it is accepted and justified that the man can beat his wife, because man is the earning member and woman is not. And even if, let me inform you that there will be multitude of exception here, that the woman would be going out as well as making earning, and they would be one who would be responsible for earning the household, and they would also be taking care of their families as well as working at home also. Still, and the man who is working but not contributing so much to the family, rather he is drinking outside and he is coming to the home after having drunk, the result is and back home also he is beating his wife. This is accepted. If the woman is speaking against it, that means they are not behaving properly. They are not behaving as per the expected social norms. In fact, the woman's ability to exercise choice in sexual and reproductive material is also questionable. The woman it hasn't got much choices as far as their sexual and reproductive matters are concerned. It has been observed throughout the world, particularly in the developing and underdeveloped nation. In fact, there is a notion which reflects that the traditional value of the girls in comparison to the boy have compartmentalized their roles and responsibility, and the society ascribes them, and it has an effect to the access of the education, health, employment, income within the family and society as well. This has been proven by the various researches. Now let us try to understand that how to empower. From the stereotyping, we have to understand that how gender empowerment can be done. Can gender stereotyping be got rid of in a day? No. Is it really possible to get rid of gender stereotyping? Yes, it has been observed in the history also that the gender stereotyping has changed as the world changed. So, accordingly, as far as history is concerned, we have to take that into consideration, and we have to take into consideration the social structure which exists, and accordingly we have to decide that how gender empowerment is to be done. As far as the women education is concerned, we have to understand that the government and the civil society is making lot of efforts to educate the girls, so that the woman can play a very important role in the development of the country. And as all of us understand and accept that the education is a milestone of women empowerment, because it enables them to respond to the challenges as well as confront their traditional roles and change their life. Friends, it's very important that they confront their traditional role and change their life. Even the United Nations Development Fund for the Women has understood women empowerment as first acquiring knowledge and understanding of gender relation and the ways in which these relations may be changed. Secondly, gender empowerment includes developing a sense of self-worth, a belief in one's ability to secure desired change and right to control one's life. Thirdly, gaining ability to generate choices, exercise bargaining power is an aspect of gender empowerment. And fourthly is developing the ability to organize and influence the direction of social change, to create a more than just social and economic order, nationality and internationally. This is another aspect of gender empowerment. Thus, empowerment means psychological sense of personal control and concern with actual social influence, political power and legal rights. That means that the women, when they are representing themselves in the different systems which exist in the country, socially as well as politically, when they are able to influence the social system, when they are able to influence the political system, when they have more legal rights, then we would say that the gender empowerment has come into being. Friends, now let us try to understand how the as to understand gender empowerment, we need to understand what kind of societies we have in India and what kind of societies existed in India. Is it so that we always have patriarchal system in India in all the communities and society? No. In India, we have polyandrous, matrilineal as well as matriarchal societies. What is polyandrous societies? Polyandry in society refers to the practice of women having more than two or more than one husband. So, historically, it has been seen. If we have a look at the India, then we have an example from the epic Mahabharata, that is Draupadi. Draupadi was married to 5 brothers, 5 Pandavas. Draupadi was wife of 5 Pandavas. That is why she was called Panchali. This is something which exists in the history. So, polyandrous societies have existed in India. In fact, There are certain regions, particularly in the Himachal India, even in the Kerala, there are certain regions where the polyandry is quite prevalent. Kinnor region, which is part of the Himachal in India, which is close to the Tibet and currently the Indo-China border, it has the mentioning of Mahabharata and that the Pandavas, when they were banished from their kingdom for the 13 years, they spent the last year hiding in this terrain of Kinnor. It is stated that when they came to the Kinnor, and it is claimed in the Kinnor that this practice is inherited by the people over there from the Pandavas, because this is something which is observed even in the Garhwalis. People, we find the similar kind of an identity as far as the practice of polyandry is concerned, that has descended from the Pandavas. So, polyandrous society has existed in North India as well as in South India, among the Todas tribes of Nilgiris, amongst the Nanjanans, Velas of Travancore, and some even Nair caste. Polyandrous unions have been there. They have disappeared because of the constitutional changes. It has disappeared because of the changes of tradition. But it existed in many groups and the tribes, and it is still practiced by some Pahadis, especially in the Jaunsar Bawa region in northern India. Even in if we have a look at the Khasi tribe, the majority of the Khasi tribe, which resides in the state of Meghalaya, in the hilly terrain, in the dense forest of the region, it is relatively isolated from the societies residing in the plain. Here, the women of the tribe still lack any representation in the political arena of the state. The affair of the tribe, as the domestic affairs, are controlled by the women of the houses. Here, the men are not having so much control as far as the domestic affairs is concerned. That is completely controlled by the women of the houses. But the woman does not have any representation in the political arena of that state. As far as the Khasi tribe is concerned, we have to understand that the matrilineal law of inheritance is there. Matrilineal law is there in the form of the fact that the youngest daughter of the house shall stay with the parents and inherit the house that is named after her mother. And the husband is expected to leave his house and live with his wife to the extent that he has to accept even the name of his wife. So, even in the Garo tribe, which is neighbor to the Khasi, it is seen that there are the similar kind of social formation. That is the matrilineal methodology to trace the property. In the Garo property also, which is headed by the mother of the house, the father is responsible for providing sustenance. The tribe is divided into sub-tribes and clans. With the marriage outside, the tribe is highly discouraged. So, friends, we have to understand even the matrilineal societies doesn't mean matriarchal, because here the society may be matriarchal, but matrilineal means the community or the society is being passed into the women of the houses. The women may not be having control outside the home. They might only be controlling inside the home, but the lineage is being controlled by the woman. The lineage is passing into the woman rather than passing into the men. And even in the matriarchal societies also, we have to understand, it doesn't mean that in the matriarchal society the control of the society is with the woman. The control of the family may only be there with the woman. The daughter of the family may be carrying the clan name throughout their family, and the son, when he takes up the wife's clan after the marriage, that is matrilineal. And if the couple, now we have to understand in the matrilineal societies, if the couple decides to get separate, there is no social stigma. Just as in the Khasi tradition, the youngest daughter inherits. In the Garo family, there is no female inheritor within the immediate family. The property passes to the daughter of the mother's sister. So, that means the property shall be passing only to the girls, even if we don't have a girl in the family. So, if there is no girl in the family, in the case of a Garo community, then the property shall be passing to the mother's sister's daughter rather than being passing to the boys in the family. We have to understand that as far as the matriarchal and matrilineal societies is concerned, it is usually seen in those societies there the sex ratio is very strong, as well as literacy rate is strong. In fact, if we have a look at the Kerala, It has the best sex ratio as well as the highest literacy rate, and it is due to the matrilineal society. Officially, the state was banned as the matrilineal or matrilocal family structure in 1975, but because of the fact that the roots are there in the matrilineal structure and the families are still being controlled by the woman, the homes are still being controlled by the woman. That is why the sex ratio as well as the literacy of the woman is strongest as far as Kerala is concerned. In fact, Kerala is surrounded by the other states. If we have a look at the other states which exist around Kerala, then we find that has a very strong culture of patriarchy. Then why, friends, we have to understand why the Kerala still continued with matrilineal and the matriarchal society, despite the fact that it was always surrounded by the states which had strong culture of patriarchy. Because matrilineal societies were having more strength. But of course, patriarchy society did have an impact, and because of the states which surrounding Kerala, the culture of patriarchy had an influence, and which resulted in the fading of matrilineal families. Let us try to understand that why there is a difference between the other states and the Kerala. Kerala enjoy higher political statures in comparison to the women. Particularly, we are talking about the Kerala women in Kerala. Women in Kerala enjoy higher political stature in comparison to the women across the country. The reason is, again, as we have mentioned, that it is basically rooted in the tribes and the few families which still follow the matrilineal tradition of the mother's name throughout their family, which throughout their life. This is also one of the reasons why Kerala is having better representation even politically. If we compare the Kerala with the other communities like the Karnataka also has certain communities like the Bunt and the Believer community which follow matrilineal descent just as the communities which we have discussed in the Kerala. We have to understand that why the societies have become matrilineal matriarchal. To give the example of Aliya Santa, which is the community in the Karnataka, it is based upon the legend that when king had to sacrifice his son, and because of the demon who was asking for the sacrifice, it's a legend which goes that how matrilineal society or the matriarchal society came into being in that particular region. To get rid of the drought, the king had to sacrifice his son, and he became too afraid to sacrifice his son, and the result was that his sister came and she sacrificed she readily said that she is ready to sacrifice her own son, that was a nephew. And when the demon pardoned the family of the king and as well as the nephew, the result was the nephew inherited everything from the king. This is how Aliya Santana has the matrilineal that means in matrilineal societies it is seen that the nephew is going to inherit everything. And another important and interesting example is that of the Nayars in Kerala. In Nayars it is seen that usually in this group of caste and subcaste, which is there is the older female member who is head of the family, and she is called Theravada. Theravada consists of many descendants who share the same ancestors, and husband usually stay in the separate rooms or altogether different houses. Holds almost little to no responsibility towards their children. In fact, the responsibility in the case of Tharwad exists with the mama, which is known as Caravan, that is the eldest male member of the society's Carnavan. Carnavan is the superior authority even though ancestral lineage follow from the eldest female member, but it is believed that Carnavan favors his niece and nephew over his children because of the lineage pattern. Friend, today we discussed quite interesting example as far as the matriarchal and matrilineal societies is concerned. We shall be discussing further. From the discussion you must have understood and concluded that because of the matrilineal and matriarchal societies, the woman has got empowered because of the understanding or the beliefs that the women are if not superior, they do have a strength in the community, and they do have a say in the society, and they were seen as a very strong members of the community and society. And the result was, as we see in the Kerala, that we have high literacy rate as well as high representation in the parliament, and we also have the better societies. That means that as far as the crime rate is concerned, that is also comparatively lesser. So friends, from this what we can conclude is that in the matrilineal and matriarchal societies, women having the stronger role to play, the result is the society is more developed. So from here on, what we can understand is that the educating the girls in such a manner is strengthening the society. I am not saying that change the society from patriarchy to the matriarchy. No, bring it to one way. Neither matriarchy nor patriarchy is absolutely appropriate. The fact is that the society has to be as per the structure which exists, as well as it has to be for the favor of the development of the community and nation. And for that we shall be basing our with the family as well as the community should be trying to have both the genders equally educated as well as equally strengthened and doing the best in their life. So on this note, friends, I, Dr. Renu Tomar, signing off with a promise to join you back again as to discuss further. Thanks, namaskar, very good afternoon.